Time for the 49ers Rush Podcast. And here's your host, John Chapman.
What is up, 49ers faithful? You know it's Thursday because this handsome fella next to me, Brian. And, man, not only that, we finally get the ruling of the Deshaun Watson suspension. We're going to cover that. And, man, this is the best time ever for it to come through because we got our NFL guy here. Brian, how are you, my friend?
John, I'm fantastic. We just got to hang out in person watching the 49ers game together, drinking beer, and then playing some pool afterwards in Canton, Ohio. We could not have asked for a better weekend. I'm pumped. I'm ready to do this.
Dude, that was a really good time. Now, it was hard for me because I'm so 49ers focused, and we were at this party with, I don't know, how many people would you say? Several hundred,
easily.
Content providers, fantasy football, whatevers. And the 49ers are on with no sound, and I'm in the middle of a bar. With a bunch of friends.
With like 8 TVs going on, by the way. The Niners are only on one of the TVs. Yeah.
And I'm taking notes and scribbling everything. Yeah. And, man, it was so cool meeting your dad, Brian. You come from good stock, man. He was a cool dude. It was a good time hanging out in person, which was awesome. And we got to do that more often.
100%. We're both in California. We can figure that out. But I'm going to double down on this. You guys know how prepared this guy is because you guys follow his content. But this guy legit had 2 pages, front and back, notes for the entire game. We're all drinking beers and eating, and John is just writing and taking notes. And then I see he's like goes to wait in the bathroom line, and then I see him posting grades on Twitter. I'm like, the guy, he never stops working. So shout out to John Chapman.
It's weird. Thank you. But like, it is weird because, you know, I do this full time all year round. Like, I think just today alone, we have 11 videos going out. We did Patreon breakdowns, whatever else. But like the 49ers games they play 16 times, 17 times. And so it's like, God, you gotta like take every second, you know what I mean? And so party be damned. Beers, keep drinking, but keep writing.
No judgment from here.
Let's go, Brian. Appreciate that, Celestial. Let's talk Deshaun Watson, okay? Sure. So the settlement has been reached. It's an 11-game suspension, $5 million fine, and probably most important for humanity, he has to go through therapy and counseling, which I care a lot about that. But obviously, let's talk NFL ramifications. That's what we do here. Walk us through your thoughts on this. And kind of where you sit, where the Browns are. What's their mentality now?
Well, first, I want to comment on the actual judgment itself as it relates to the National Football League. I think the NFL caved a little bit with all the information and news released about how they were seeking a minimum of 1 year, but were ideally going after indefinite. The fact that they settled on 11 games, the fact that he gets to come back and play the Texans in his first game, clearly they got scared or annoyed at the fact that the NFLPA would have pursued additional legal action if they would have gone with that long of a suspension. They just kind of gave in. So I want to say that. I'm going to call the NFL out for just caving and say, you know what?
Agreed.
11 games. 6 games. That's not enough. 11, sure, we're good. You know what I mean? Like, it just didn't seem to compute. With regards to Cleveland, I'm starting to think they're too proud to pursue a different quarterback. I'm starting to think they're like doubling down on Jacoby Brissett and I guess Josh Rosen. I don't know. He didn't look great in that preseason game, but I'm starting to be less confident that Jimmy G is in the picture, which is obviously what brings us back to the Niners. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, you know, initially I said 12 or more, Jimmy's going. Then I kind of backed it down after the 6-game suspension to 10 or more. We hit 11. And it seems like the overall consensus coming out of, you know, people that cover the Browns, Cleveland, is that they're fine with where they are. But good gosh, you know, you look at it, he's gone 11 games. He was terrible in the preseason. Terrible.
Let's emphasize that.
Bad. And Jacoby Brissett, who I love, man. Jacoby Brissett, he's played with Jimmy Garoppolo before. He's played with Andrew Luck before. Like, he's kind of been this consensus backup his entire life. I like Jacoby. But here's my issue. The Browns last year would have made the playoffs if they had Jimmy Garoppolo. They would have been a playoff team. And they missed it because Baker was just so bad and turnovers and whatever else.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. I feel like they're going to miss out on the playoffs again. I really, really don't see Jacoby Brissett leading them to a close to 500 record. Is he going to be 5-6 with Jacoby Brissett?
Yeah, I'm with you there.
I think so.
I mean, you got Joe Burrow, you got the Super Bowl runners up. You've got Lamar Jackson, former MVP. The quarterbacks, yes, Pittsburgh doesn't have Big Ben anymore, but you've got a very tough division. The Steelers still have a top 10 or top 5 defense. So forgetting their quarterback situation, this is not an easy division. We were talking about a year or two ago about them being one of the best divisions in the NFL. So having a guy like Jacoby Brissett, and this is no disrespect to him, I think he is a fantastic backup quarterback, but that roster is too talented to have a guy like Jacoby Brissett. That's going to just by default lead to losses that probably would have been wins with better quarterback play, like you said. I agree. I think Jimmy G, or if Baker was healthy and playing up to his capabilities, they would have been a playoff team last year. Doesn't bode well for Cleveland.
Yeah, and Captain Ensato's comment here, I fear no man. Browns don't want Jimmy. Not enough upgrade over Brissett. Cut time, John. It's time to admit it. No, I completely disagree here. Now, I might agree with the first part of your thing that the Browns don't want Jimmy. I get that. I'm fine accepting that. But you definitely don't cut him, not now, because, again, look what happened with Zach Wilson. There might be another one of those where you could swoop in. You save the exact same amount of money if you cut Jimmy Garoppolo now as you do August 30th. There's no reason to rush that. Plus, that would give him more time to practice with Seattle, who I think would pick him up in a heartbeat. Now, maybe he would go to the Browns, and maybe that's the reason why the Browns don't sign him. But for the 49ers, again, there's no advantage to cutting him now. You get nothing.
Right.
So I'm not with you there. But, yeah, Jimmy's acquired taste. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, some interesting. We don't have to go too far down the Jimmy rabbit hole, but Mike Florio reporting on Pro Football Talk about – or no, it wasn't Florio. It was Peter King. Peter King reporting about – he was talking to Lynch and Shanahan and got all this inside info about when Jimmy signed his contract and then disappeared for 3 weeks, and the fact that he doesn't have the 49ers playbook, and – acquired taste is an interesting way to put it, John.
Yeah, he's different. Now, the funny thing is, that's all resurfaced recently. That's been known in 49er circles. Like, Kittle has talked about that for every single offseason, about how Jimmy won't return his calls in the offseason, and they're like close friends or whatever. Like, yeah, Jimmy's a weird cat.
Yeah.
But it's weird how all that has resurfaced. And
I think it 100% has to do with his trade value. I mean, that's how these things go.
Yeah, and so I still am holding out hope. It just makes too much sense for the Browns. If I was the Browns GM, it's going to cost me what? A 4th-round conditional pick, maybe, and I get Jimmy Garoppolo. I make the playoffs this year, make the transition to Deshaun Watson. Then Jimmy walks the following year, and I get a comp pick on top of that. Like, it just I can't find anything that doesn't make sense besides the fact of let's wait for him to get cut. We'll bring him in, and we'll try to get them cheap. So maybe that's the play, but that just seems weird to me as a team who missed the playoffs. But again, Browns usually don't make good decisions.
And exactly. I think that's what it comes down to. When I said that I thought the Browns wouldn't, I didn't say they shouldn't. I just said they wouldn't. There is a difference. If I'm the GM of the Browns, I'm exactly with you. If I'm Andrew Berry, I'm finding a way to get him on my roster now. And that's the key. Waiting until he gets cut, which, like you said, the Niners, if they do it, they're going to wait until the very end because you want to see what happens. You're missing valuable time to learn that Stefanski offense, to get acclimated and up to speed by the start of the season. And like we said, a very hard division and a very, very hard conference. It does the Browns no good if they truly do want Jimmy Garoppolo to wait. If you really want him, you should be trading for him now so that you've got time to ramp up with this talented roster. Waiting until he gets cut just makes zero sense. So I'm with you. I just think the Browns are making a bad decision here all around.
Yeah, Captain Insato, he says the 30th he has to be cut. That is correct. So every Tuesday, right? So last Tuesday was the first round of cuts, August 23rd. This upcoming Tuesday, another five, and then 27 have to be cut by August 30th. And as long as he's not on the roster past that, his contract, none of the guarantees, all that stuff just goes bye-bye. Now, I want to go back to this. This is an old clip of Shanahan and John Lynch on asking about the prospect of perhaps cutting Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, remember, this is an older clip from training camp start. but I think it still plays some weight here.
It a lot harder with the surgery. I think that's why everyone knows the situation we're in. And we understand that, so we're not trying to kid ourselves or play any game. I think the whole league understands that. But you also can't just give one of the better quarterbacks in the league, just make him available for no reason to the whole world. So, and the good thing is you can have those conversations with Jimmy, and he understands that too. So we're going to try to do the best for both sides. But there's things we got to work through, and it starts with getting the physical today by our doctors, which I expect that to go well, just like it did with his doctor. And then we'll see how fast this goes. But
Well, it hasn't gone fast. He
No.
did pass the physical. He's been out there rehabbing, but yeah, it's not going fast. But there's no advantage. Like, if you take nothing away from this, there is absolutely zero advantage, cap-wise, whatever, by cutting him now. You get nothing. So just wait. Maybe an injury happens. Maybe somebody caves. But if you cut him now, he's going to Seattle, and he's going to be starting against you in your home opener week 2. Nobody wants that.
Good. Yep.
Yeah. So, all right, let's transition now. I'm sure we're going to get some more questions. But before we do, I'm seeing this on the bottom of the ticker, my friend Clayton. Clayton, the man behind the scenes, he is incredible. We have an update to our 49ers Rush road trip, several updates, in fact. Our party for Chicago, we changed locations and times because the Giants and the Cubs are playing that day. And so I didn't want people going to the Giants-Cubs game, then traveling downtown later that night. So I said, you know what? What's best for everybody? We moved the party to Wrigley. You don't even have to walk 1 block. It is literally next to the stadium. It wasn't cheap to get, but that's okay. So if you're going to be in Chicago, man, make it the best Saturday ever. Go check out the Giants and the Cubs at Wrigley, then walk less than a block. Join us at the NOLA Bar and Kitchen. It's a kind of southern Louisiana Mardi Gras style bar. We got it. It's in Wrigleyville, 3481 North Clark. And again, it's not going to be one of our larger 49ers Rush parties. That's going to be in Denver, which I have a couple updates there. But if you want to join us there, 49ersRushRoadTrip.com. We're going to be doing giveaways. We're going to be doing trivia. We're going to be doing a live show. Crocker, Wayne Breezy, Mo's Nose. We got Rohan, maybe. I'm trying to get him out there. It's going to be absolutely incredible. So that's going to start at 4 p.m. Get your tickets there. We obviously have the, what's it called? Tailgate Sunday morning right before the game, unlimited beers and brats. But, we have been talking about how we were going to have Frank Gore come out for an autograph signing in Denver. With all of the things going on, did not feel that was appropriate. So we have rescinded that. But we do have another big-time player, 49ers player, coming along. I don't want to hint at it yet. Contracts, we've agreed to everything. Contract hasn't been signed yet. But I own his jersey. I own several of his jerseys. He's one of my favorite players of all time to ever wear the 49ers thing. So anyway, stay tuned for that. I don't want to put it out there until we get it inked. But we're swapping out Frank Gore. Let him get his stuff taken care of, whatever. There's more important things. And then we will move forward with our party. So still going to be the same place. So anyway, 49ersRushRoadTrip.com. Now, let's get to the NFC West with the man himself, Brian. Take us through camp. We focus on the 49ers all the time, but we got to know our enemies. Hashtag Rage Against the Machine. How do we want to get to know these guys? So walk us through this.
Yeah, we're going to keep doing what we did a couple weeks ago. We're going to hit some bullets on each of the teams. I will leave the Niners stuff up to John because that's his realm. But we're going to keep doing the way we've been doing. We'll start at the bottom, starting at the Seahawks. Then we'll hit the Cards. Then we'll hit the Rams.
And they play tonight. Yeah, Seahawks play tonight at 5 p.m. against the Bears. So, 1, you get to watch the Seahawks. 2, you get to watch the 49ers Week 1 opponent.
Right. And we're going to start there because there's going to be a different starting quarterback than was supposed to be for Seattle in this game. So, Geno Smith still has the clear lead for the QB1 spot, but Drew Lock was supposed to start tonight. Instead, he got ye old COVID, and he will not be playing, which means Geno gets to start again. Now, what this means with regards to this whole quarterback competition, that's kind of the juiciest thing that's coming out of Seattle. Geno has been in the lead primarily because he has been more consistent. Locke has flashed more talent. Locke has had more wow plays, but he's also had more just bad bonehead plays, interceptions, throwing the ball and coverage, bad decisions. And Pete Carroll just wants it steady, nice and slow, right? He wants something consistent. But this could have been Locke's opportunity to go out there in an actual game setting and maybe make a case for, hey, my physical abilities are worth taking a chance on. Now he's not going to get that chance. To be determined. Carroll has not said if he was going to start Locke in the third preseason game or not, but as of now, this was Locke's time to shine and maybe make a case. So it's even more than ever looking like Geno Smith will be the starter week 1. We'll monitor it throughout the season, but it looks like Geno is locked and loaded for week 1.
I think that makes the most sense. It really does, especially with Locke missing his opportunity. He'll probably start game 3, but by that time, I think it's got to be decided. Big Papa asked this, Brian. I'm curious your thoughts. Hearing reports Seahawks might not be as bad as we expect. Are you changing any of your tone on how bad this team is?
This is not the right time to think that they'll be better or worse. I still look at that roster overall. I will say my next point is that we're, at least as far as the first preseason game go, there are 2 rookie tackles, and that's, we talked in past shows about how important those rookie offensive linemen are because they're going to be starting. Actually fared pretty well against Pittsburgh. Now, they weren't against the Steelers starters, but it's a test nonetheless. So they have Charles Cross, who is their first rounder, playing left tackle. He played solid, but third round rookie right tackle Abe Lucas also played well. So the touchdown wire for USA Today put out this preseason superstars, one from each team, and Abe Lucas was the superstar for the Seahawks based on his performance in that game against the Steelers. So those are the kind of things. Ken Walker has looked great, but he just had a procedure related to a hernia.
Yeah, did he got carted off? Is that right? No, that wasn't him.
No, that wasn't him. He had a some sort of hernia, not a sports hernia. There's an important. I've done a lot of reading on the medical front because I didn't know the difference. So there's a sports hernia, which is a lot more serious. It's more abdominal. It can be lead to a much longer recovery time. And then there's just a hernia, which is like, in simple terms, something sticking out farther than it should is kind of the way to put it. The point is exactly. But he had that. He had the hernia. He's got it taken care of, and as far as Pete Carroll and the rest of the Seahawks, they seem to be under the impression that he's going to be ready for week 1. So while he might miss the rest of the preseason, still looking like Kenneth Walker is going to be good to go. Rashad Penny had been missing time. He has now returned, and beat writers say he looks solid and explosive and ready to go for week 1, with Travis Homer kind of being the next backup there. So I think that's just maybe expectations were just so low that anything above that, it's like you can't go anywhere. But at the end of the day, we have to remember that either Geno Smith or Drew Lock are going to be leading this team. And even if it's Jimmy, he's not going to be ready to, he's not going to immediately just, you have to get up to speed with your teammates, with the playbook, with the way that Pete Carroll coaches. This is not a quick thing. So we're going to see some bumps along the road. You still have some injuries. Wide receivers D. Eskridge and Marquise Goodwin they're trending towards the first week, but they're still not practicing. So you have kind of that.
They traded for a wide receiver.
Correct. That's also on here. They traded for wide receiver / tight end, because he was playing tight end recently, JJ Arcega-Whiteside. Try to do the authentic pronunciation there.
I was really high on him when he came out. I was wrong. I was very wrong. A lot of people were. And I think I was curious as to why they made this move. I think that's a little telling. It could be because of their injury depth, because a lot of their outside of Lockett and Metcalf, you don't have a lot of proven playmakers. Maybe, but I think a Whiteside's not proven either. So it's more just like Carroll said he liked him coming out of the draft, like you mentioned, John, and I guess that's their reason. To me, that's more worrying. Like, why are you picking up a guy like Arcega-Whiteside at this point unless you're worried about the depth of your playmakers? And when your quarterback is who they're going to be rolling out, I'm not high on the Seahawks. I'm not any higher than I was before the offseason started. Yeah, I would say this, I don't think that's going to be a game the 49ers, it's a home opener. But if anything, you could struggle a little bit against the Bears because of how much you care about that game, week 2. It's hard to say week 1's a trap game or whatever, but they're a bad team. They're not a good team. Now, divisional games, always weird. I don't like betting divisional games. I always try really hard not to. And so, crazy stuff could happen. They won 13 out of 15 against the Niners. So that's a legitimate concern. But back to the quarterback talk, and I think that this is the issue. If you look at Drew Lock has talent. Drew Lock could be a great quarterback with a very high ceiling still, but the consistency, very low floor. Geno is the exact opposite. It's this.
Very little variance.
He cannot be an above average quarterback. He can be average, but that's it. And so who knows? Maybe if you keep Geno there, you're talking maybe 6-11, 7,
Which
and 10.
6 wins for this team, in my mind, would be a successful season, personally. With the division that they're in and facing the AFC West, if you can get 6 wins, I think I projected them at 4. If you can get 6 wins, to me, that's a successful season for Seattle.
Yeah, so there we go. So any other Seattle notes you got before we move on from the bottom dwellers?
No, I just want to make one last note on the quarterback situation. And Locke's talent, as you said, has never been the question. The reason I have not been high on Drew Lock is that inconsistency. You never know when you're going to get a game where he's going to throw 4 interceptions. And that can do it. Doesn't matter how talented the rest of your team is. And guess what? This team is not that talented. So you have a team who's already deficient in a number of roster spots, having to start rookies at multiple spots on the offensive line. And you have a quarterback who either is only going to get you to here, or a quarterback that could literally be one of the worst in the NFL at any given moment. And Locke, it's a recipe for disaster.
Now, before we move off of the Seattle Seahawks, here's a question, a great comment. And basically what he says is this: let Jimmy go to the Seahawks. Let him go. They can have him. And I agree with you. If you're going to cut him, that's fine. But why give them an extra 2.5 weeks to work with him? Why not just wait? Make it less convenient as much as possible. What's the old Napoleonic war code? Never do what your enemy wants them to do. Just wait. Make it as uncomfortable as possible. It's a completely different offensive system. I think Jimmy could pick it up. And again, do I think they'll win a Super Bowl with Jimmy? No, I don't. But is Jimmy better than Geno Smith and Drew Lock? By every single measure. It's
Jimmy
not
at quarterback, close. I could see 8 to 9 wins because you have enough talent to kind of get there. I'm going to reiterate one more time, and then we'll move on to the Cardinals. If you release Jimmy G now, and he's the starter for the Seahawks, then you've got enough time where it's within the realm of possibility he's starting week 1. If you release Jimmy on the 30th, I don't care. He's not starting week 1. And so you are giving the Seahawks more of a chance for him to be ready against the Niners, for him to be ready week 1 against the Broncos, which just automatically gives them a better chance to win. So if you want the Seahawks to lose, wait until the last possible second and let Garoppolo go on the 30th.
I like it. Now let's move on to the Cardinals. They play Sunday, the last game. What's interesting, every single NFC West team plays on a different day this week. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you could have got to spread out the NFC West. Cardinals play Sunday at 5 against the Ravens. What do you got for us on the Birds?
So going along those same preseason superstars, just based on the performance in week 1, wide receiver Greg Dortch has been the most consistent. I'm sorry, he's the most consistent playmaker. Linebacker Victor Dimukehi, I think it's pronounced it.
Dimukehi, from Wake Forest. I remember breaking down his film. I liked him.
He was picked as the superstar for the Cardinals in their week 1 win over the Bengals. 2021 6th-round pick, recorded 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hurries, and 2 stops in their preseason game. On wide receiver Greg Dortch, beat reporters have said he's been the most consistent. Now, a lot of these Cardinals wide receivers haven't been practicing much. Hopkins has not been practicing as much because he has the impending suspension. AJ Green has not been out there all that often. And Marquise Brown had both an injury and a speeding thing. But that's an opportunity for a guy like Greg Dortch. He's an undrafted veteran who's on his 5th team. He actually spent last season on the Cardinals practice squad and had a strong camp. And it's looking like he might be trending towards getting a wide receiver depth chart in their 53.
They're interesting. One thing that is going to be, I don't know if you're watching Hard Knocks. I know you're watching Hard Knocks. I
haven't watched the latest just because this week I'm catching up from the Expo, but it's on my docket. Yeah.
It's good. But, Amazon, they started doing where they track a team during the season, and it's the Cardinals this year. So it's basically Hard Knocks.
HBO, actually. HBO's doing the same. It's HBO doing both.
They're doing both now?
It used to be Amazon. They had All or Nothing.
Right.
Then Hard Knocks decided, no, we're going to do it ourselves. HBO is now doing Hard Knocks training camp and Hard Knocks in season. Last year it was the Colts. This year it's the Cardinals.
Nice. And so I'm pumped about that because I want to see the dysfunction firsthand. Again, just terrible front office, terrible leadership, terrible, but good talent. They have talent.
Correct.
They've got a lot of talent. It's just how it's going to pan out.
In that regards, it's a little opposite from Seattle. Seattle, I mean, you can say what you want about Pete Carroll, but the guy's a Super Bowl winning coach. Their coaching staff is a little bit more steady. Their organization is very well run, and they just don't have the talent. Arizona's got talent for days. They are one of the most talented rosters, especially on the offensive side of the ball at least. They can match up with any offense in the NFL, but the GM, Keim, the quarterback,
playing everybody out of position.
Right. Yeah. It's a disaster. And in season, maybe we see Kingsbury get fired. Maybe they start like 3-10. That could make for good television from an entertainment standpoint.
Oh man, we'll see here. It's going to be fun. So
Yeah.
the Cardinals, they're just weird. You're just going to have to wait and see. But intriguing because it's such a train wreck, right? It's the reason why Americans like reality TV show, right? They are the, I don't know, what's it called? Housewives of freaking
Real Housewives of the NFC West.
That's exactly correct.
You shouldn't be watching, but you cannot look away.
Can't look away, man. Can't look away.
Couple more quick bullet points with the Cardinals. Second round rookie tight end Trey McBride is going to make his debut this weekend. He has had some back issues, which has kept him out of practice and kept him out of the first preseason game. He, along with Jelani Woods, were kind of the two tight ends that everybody was saying in this draft class had the highest ceiling, the most potential. And so he's going to get his first look. Kyler Murray's not going to play all preseason. But yeah, I'm excited to see him. I like his talent and his potential.
Yeah, and we got a question here about the offensive line for the Cardinals. This is their slated starting offensive line. DJ Humphries, very, very good, above average.
Deal.
Yeah, he's making $1.5 million less than Trent Williams this year. But anyway. Justin Pugh, he's good left guard. He's just always hurt. He was 49th last year. Rock Hudson, 31st rated center. His kind of prime days seem to be behind him. Can he rebound? Then at right guard, you got Josh Jones. From Houston, he was a third-round pick. They wanted him to be tackle. They had to kick him in because, again, drafting high-rated players that just don't fit. That's their right guard. And then Beachum. We know about Beachum. He's been around the league forever. Right. Kelvin Beachum from SMU. He was a 7th-round pick. So not a lot of they're good on the left side.
They have some veteran presence. I'm a fan of Rodney Hudson. He is past his peak, but he's still, as far as a leader, he may not be a dominant blocker anymore, but he also doesn't make any mistakes. And so that's a good center to have for Kyler Murray. But none of these guys are studs. Like Humphries is the best one, and he doesn't deserve that contract as far as it regards to Trent Williams. But there are much worse offensive lines. I'd much rather be starting their offensive line than Seattle's unless these rookies show up. So kind of middle of the road. I would say in the kind of 15 to 20 range as far as rank in my head.
Yeah, I think that's well said. Any other tidbits on the Cardinals before we move on to the Rams?
Just one. Kyler Murray and Marquise Brown just practiced together for the first time. So Kyler had COVID. We mentioned Hollywood Brown had his speeding thing and his injury. They are now practicing together. They went to Oklahoma together. They have some history. We'll see what that means. We're not going to get to see that duo in the preseason, but thought it was worth mentioning.
Yeah, it's interesting. That is interesting. They're like close friends, I know.
Right.
Anyway,
it's one of the reasons he went to Arizona from Baltimore.
Yeah.
Was for Kyler.
I like it. Now, before we jump to the last team, if you haven't yet, I just finished. Our Patreon breakdowns are insane this week, which has been fun going through the preseason tape, finally having it. So I had a little fun with it. I just broke down every single special teams play from a preseason game. That's what we're doing. So that's going to be loaded onto Patreon right at the conclusion of this show. But again, every single offensive snap, defensive snap, special team snap. And I will say this, whenever I was doing the special teams, Trey Sermon had one of the biggest hits I have ever seen. Bigger than the Hufanga hit, bigger than the hit that the linebacker DFF had. It was the biggest hit I've seen all game. It was incredible. So for those Patreon members, go check that out. You get access to everything as soon as you sign up. And if you don't like it, money back guaranteed. But we stand by our product. I think you'll like it. So, all right.
The Trey Sermon front, before we move to the Rams, for those of you who have not subscribed to Legit Football, we have a Trey Sermon story in there today.
Oh, that's what's up. What's up. All right, let's go to the Rams, the defending Super Bowl champions. What do we got?
So first, let's talk about the big issue last time we talked, and that was Stafford's elbow. It's looking to be less and less of an issue. Both McVay and Stafford himself feeling much more optimistic, but it's not completely out of their consciousness. So what that means from a quarterback roster position is that they might end up keeping 3 quarterbacks. Right now, it's John Wolford and Bryce Perkins battling for that backup quarterback spot. Right now, Wolford has the inside track at number 2, but Perkins actually played really well in the preseason game against the Chargers. The 2 are going to split 50-50 the next preseason game. So that's just something to kind of monitor if you want to see. They might end up keeping 1 on the active roster and have 1 on the practice squad. But that just means that they're not 100% confident in Stafford's elbow if they're still considering carrying 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah, and Stafford's going to be fine.
Yeah, I think so too.
The arm fatigue and all that kind of stuff, whatever. I mean, he's been playing forever. I'm not too worried. But if it was a back issue, then I would be alarmed because he's had a lot of back issues. But yeah, he's going to be all right. He just played baseball his whole life. I remember watching him play in Texas at the state championship baseball game. Dude was the starting pitcher, just freaking unbelievable. He's great. He's got some talent.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I actually don't think it'll end up being an issue. I'm just monitoring the fact that the Rams aren't 100% feeling like they're in the clear yet, and which is why they're still trying to consider. And this came from Jordan Rodriguez, who covers the Rams better than anybody from The Athletic. She's seeming to think that they're going to end up carrying 3 quarterbacks, so something to monitor. On the running back front, both Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson are dealing with soft tissue issues, probably to the point where neither one will play in the preseason. McVay seems to think that neither one are serious, and they're really just waiting until they're both up to speed. All reports are that they will both be ready for week 1, but we're not going to see either one of those in the preseason anymore. On the running back front, so who's next up? 2021 7th-round pick Jake Funk is currently getting starting reps during the preseason. Because the only other running back that's kind of in the mix was on the PUP until recently. So Kyron Williams, you've mentioned him on the show before, John, rookie 5th-round pick from this year, was recently activated off the physically unable to perform list. May or may not play in the preseason, but at least he's back at practice. And so far, McVay has nice things to say about Kyron Williams.
Yeah, I mean, they just kind of put somebody back there. It's difficult to load the box because of the wide receivers they have on the outside and Stafford's arm. Hopefully the 49ers can get to a point where teams can't load the box against them because of Trey Lance. And, speaking of, let's take a quick break. I saw this comment. Thank you, Clayton. He said Colin Cowherd seems to have a vendetta against Trey Lance, and there's good reason for that. Trey Lance was rumored to be dating his daughter for a brief period of time. So there's a reason why I think that's around there. That was before the draft, whenever Trey was making the national media circuit, and he was over at Colin Cowherd's house more than once, has been reported. So Colin Cowherd again. What are they selling? So whenever you're watching national media or a podcast like this or whatever, what are they selling? Colin Cowherd is selling clicks, right? That's what it is. It's narratives that he creates that he will expand upon for hours at a time and go back to those. Same with Mike Florio, same with Chris Sims, those type of guys. Those are clickbait artists. So whenever you get stuff, I get it, they're entertainment, but that's all that you need to see. You don't get actual good football content from them. It's entertainment driven narratives like Stephen A. Smith or Skip Bayless. They're all the same. Some I like more than others, but I wouldn't look too much into it.
There you go. From the man himself.
There we go.
All right. Moving back to the Rams on the wide receiver front. With Van Jefferson, he's underwent that knee surgery. He's looking good to go for week 1. Lance McCutcheon had quite a preseason game. He was the Rams' choice for. Yeah, I didn't either, honestly, until this game. So he was the Rams' choice for preseason superstar from week 1.
What's he play? Do you know?
Wide receiver.
Oh, okay. My bad. My bad.
Wide receiver Lance McCutcheon. Rising up the depth chart, had 5 catches, 87 yards, and 2 touchdowns in their preseason opener against the Chargers. He is a 2021 4th-round pick. Jacob Harris is the guy he's kind of fighting with right now for that roster spot. But all reports are that McCutcheon's on the rise, and Harris could either they could keep him for special teams, or he'll be the guy that kind of gets the cut. Their current wide receiver room, obviously, you got Kupp, you got Allen Robinson, Van Jefferson still looking good to go for week 1, then Tutu Atwell and Ben Skowronek. So he's
got a lot of meaningful snaps. That's 5.
Right. And last year, the Rams kept 6 wide receivers on their active roster. So it looks like McCutcheon and Harris are going to fight for that spot. And right now, it looks like it might be McCutcheon has the edge. We'll see how he plays in the last 2 preseason games.
Man, to move on from a 4th-round pick would be interesting. Yeah, that's something to watch for sure. And so, again, the Rams, I didn't say this, they play Friday at 7 p.m. against the Texans. So, again, you're going to kind of get your NFC West dose this weekend, which is good. Starting tonight, Seahawks Thursday, Rams Friday, Niners Saturday, Cardinals Sunday, and then everybody plays the following Thursday. So it's going to be a quick turnaround week. So my Patreon people, I hope y'all are ready, because you're going to be getting a lot of content next week before Thursday. It's going to be a lot. And then we got the cut down date and all that stuff afterwards, which I mean, golly, so much stuff. We're going to be doing our Zoom hangout next Sunday where we go through our 53 man and we argue and we play like we're GM. It's one of the funnest shows we do all week. So if you want to participate in that, again, Patreon, that's where we're pushing it. Extra bonus shows every snap, giveaway galore. We got all kinds of stuff over there. So any other Rams nuggets or NFC West nuggets that you have, Brian, before we jump out of here?
One last one for the Rams. I mentioned last time we did this that one of the biggest concerns was in the pass rush without Von Miller. And it's just that Leonard Floyd is, by all accounts, having a very strong camp. So that bodes well for the pass rush for the Rams.
He's a damn good player. And whenever you've got that defensive tackle Aaron Donald inside. Now, I'm curious, one of the things that I think people just keep forgetting, Von Miller's not on this team anymore. Mm-hmm. I mean, that dude, they do not make it to the Super Bowl without him. They don't win the Super Bowl without him.
Yep.
That's one of the things. Here we go. I'm nobody you need to know. Glad to see you, man. He says, can you sum up the thoughts you had about Kinlaw during the Packers game review? Yes. So he played 17 snaps, if I'm not mistaken, in the Packers game. And all I cared about, did he have stats, tackles, sacks? No, he didn't. I wanted to see his power. I wanted to see his speed. I wanted to see his hustle. And they all freaking check mark. And if you haven't seen the clip where he's pancaking offensive linemen against the Vikings, and if you just saw the picture of him walking off the field today, he's a different man. You paint him green, he's the freaking Incredible Hulk. Lou Ferrigno's got nothing on this guy. He's just, it's unbelievable what he has brought. So if that knee's healthy, he's going to be just fine. I am huge stock up on Javon Kinlaw. So I feel very, very happy about that. Eric Armstead's back practicing in the middle. That's why they waived 2 defensive tackles in their initial first 5 cuts. I feel very, very confident in Javon Kinlaw currently. So, that's what we got. All right, that's going to do it for us here. I want to say thank you to the man, Clayton, behind the scenes, making sure the show runs smoothly. He's about as good as they get, man. And so just want to say thank you, Clayton, for all that you do. Brian, Legit Football, man, it's incredible. Start your morning off right. LegitFootball.com. Subscribe to the free newsletter. It's free. I mean, it's the best word in the English language. Sache, thank you. Says like, subscribe, Patreon. Appreciate the support, my friend. And want to say thank you to our executive producers, James Willock and 49ers George 365, making all this possible. Man, the 49ers Rush team's awesome. Love these guys. Appreciate it. And we'll be back. Also, do want to say we're going to be, this is our new time on Thursdays. My apologies. My son, that's right, free David Wallner. Good to see you, brother. My son's freshman football. He's on freshman football this year. So they play Thursdays at 4 p.m. So we got to get this done. Then I got to go watch my son play, which I'm super excited. Tonight's his first padded football game. I'm so pumped, man. Really, really excited about this. Anyway, so 1 p.m. Every Thursday, that's what we got with Legit Football. So, Brian, thank you so much, my friend. And until next time, stay strong, faithful.